Hi, good morning. My name is Richard Anson. I'm co-founder and CEO of Reevoo, Europe's leading social commerce business. There's a number of drivers, I think, behind these changes, and I think there's probably three main ones. The first one is that the ASA have said that they've received about 4,500 complaints since 2008 regarding UK online businesses. The second one is just the sort of rise of the importance of online. So in 2010, UK online sales were 60 billion pounds, roughly 17% of total sales. They're growing at 13%, between 13 and 17% year on year. So there's a huge influence. And if you look at a sector like the electrical goods market, online influence extends to about 50% of total sales. So even if you buy in store, you're still doing your research online, and user-generated content is clearly a part of that. The third issue is that there's a trend in the web now very much around trust and transparency, and that affects us all, everyone operating in it, whether you're a consumer or you're a business. So the protection of that trust and transparency is the benefit of everyone operating today on the web, which is most businesses. So those are some of the major drivers. And if you look at who would be most impacted by that change, there's probably three key areas. The first one is probably smaller businesses and potentially startups who haven't done a lot of paid advertising in the past, but have been very active in the unpaid world of Facebook and Twitter, and they just need to make sure they're compliant. And they'll be very nimble, and I'm sure most of them will be compliant. The second area, which has pretty much bigger ramifications, is around user-generated content. And this applies to, obviously, businesses that not only their user-generated content on their own websites, but user-generated content that maybe they have within their pages within social networks such as Facebook and Twitter. And they need to make sure that it is compliant to those guidelines of honest, decent, fair and true, and not misleading. And so companies that are very active in the space of user-generated content and reviews absolutely need to make sure they are complying with the code. If you look at the world of reviews specifically in terms of compliance, a lot of it is common sense. So it is ensuring that every review is from a verified owner, that you're publishing all the reviews, good or bad, so providing a balanced opinion, and there's no fake reviews, there's no manipulation, and no gaming of those systems. And many businesses are doing that already. Those businesses that are using their own systems or using a system provided by third-party sort of white-label software, they absolutely need to make sure that they are compliant with that. And what's more, the code states that actually it applies to all content, even if it was produced before the 1st of March. And so they need to make sure that they're complying with that. And there's a number of ways of doing that. Making sure you email every customer after they purchase, that you then take all those reviews that you can, as long as they're not offensive, and publish those, that you're providing that balanced opinion. That you don't carry out things like astroturfing, which is just common sense. Astroturfing is where where a business masquerades as a consumer. There's an article about a major brand that is being very much being alleged by a journalist that they might have paid consumers to produce video reviews around their products. Now, clearly, if that proves to be true, and nobody knows whether it is true, that has big ramifications for trust with that brand, but also with the whole industry. So, making sure that a lot of it is common sense, but you're applying some clear rules to your guidelines, or make sure clear rules to your user-generated content, will make sure that you're complying. So it's not difficult, but you do need to provide some thought to it. There are a number of grey areas with the code, and we can maybe talk about those in a second. But in that specific example where a brand has given a product to a consumer, I think the key watchword is transparency. And so it's just a case of saying, well, actually, this review or this opinion was provided by someone who was given the product, and then the consumer reading that knows that, well, okay, there may be a chance this person is slightly biased. He might be a brand advocate of that brand, but that's all right. It's that opinion is just as valid as a piece written by the brand's marketing agency, as long as it's all transparent, and it's where you have that grayness in lines where somebody might give a product to a consumer and then not mention it, and so you get that sort of masquerading. This similarly with when say a blogger is given a product to write about a review, most bloggers will say very quick, very transparent at the top, I was given this product by this business, and therefore, just bear that in mind as you're reading my opinion on it. There are a number of grey areas. First and foremost, user-generated content they define as content produced by a consumer. It could be a review or it could be an image. And they also state that it has to be used for marketing purposes. So really, what is marketing on the web? Most websites are probably marked for marketing in their aim, or sales and marketing really. So one of the grey areas is which parts of user-generated content are actually within the code and without. And I think the safe thing to say is probably saying all user-generated content is within the code. So that's probably the key area. The other one is that they've said they're not going to provide any more guidance, but they're going to do this look at it on a case-by-case basis, which businesses they name and shame and sanction. And I think, therefore, if you're a business involved in user-generated content, the right thing to do at this stage is to make sure that you're whiter than white. And that's not actually that difficult. You have to make sure you're not misleading, that you're not being offensive, and that you're being honest, decent, fair, and true. And those are all fairly common sense things that one should imply in business as a whole, despite the commercial pressures that they are. And if you're involved in reviews and reviews, then there's some clear, simple guidelines. Ensure every review is from a verified purchaser. Ensure that you're publishing all the reviews, good or bad, providing balanced opinion, and that you're not having fake reviews, manipulating them, or gaming the system. And if you follow those guidelines, I don't think you'll be falling foul of the ASA code. In terms of moderators, I think the role of the moderator in user-generated content is really one of ensuring that comments aren't offensive, and they should be allowing content coming through that provides balanced opinion. So if you're moderating out all negative comments and reviews, then you're not being true, fair, and honest. If you have a testimonial page on a website that is full of positive comments, but a number of them aren't real, then actually you've got some issues. So I think the moderator is still important, and from an offensive position, but they need to have that much more of a kind of a balanced, impartial position. What I do think is we may well see the rise and the importance of trusted third-party brands in the realm of user-generated content. There's a number of businesses out there that operate in the review space. You have people who do it themselves. You have people who provide third-party software, and that you have people like Reevoo who very much act as a kind of impartial trust mark to say, actually, where you see a Reevoo review, you know that the review has always been written by a verified purchaser, that we'll show all reviews, good or bad, in a product as long as it's not offensive, and so therefore, systems like that are automatically compliant with the guidelines. So it is relatively easy to do. You just need to approach it in the right fashion. I think be whiter than white and assume everything's included, but don't be fearful. User-generated content is an enormously beneficial thing. It's beneficial to the retailers and manufacturers. We work with them very closely. We measure and we see significant increases in sales, up to 17%. It's enormously beneficial to the consumer. It helps consumers with choice, and so you shouldn't be scared. You just need to go into it with a mindset of being that honest, decent, and using almost common sense. How would you like to be treated as a consumer? So I think it's a great thing, and I think it's a great thing that the code's there. It's not as clear as it should be, but at least it's a step down the road.